Well, the DSC unit is back from reman. And unpack this thing and cram it onto the car. Hope for the best. Alright, so she's installed. Take this really tacky looking rebuilt in USA sticker off. And I'm gonna go disconnect the battery before I hook it up. Okay, so that's done with. Oh, shoot. I didn't get it well enough situated before I pushed it down. There we go. So now I just gotta shove the airbox and stuff back in and move the GLS, take it for a drive and see if she's any better. That's all done. Time to hook the battery back up. Those hood struts are healthy, holy crap. Squeeze in here, fire it up, let it warm up while I pull the GLS out. Oh God. We have all this space. It's still tight. She hasn't been started in a long time, so I think that's completely fair. Well, that's a good sign. The DSC lights are out, so it recognizes its old module. And that was always the case. But it wouldn't stay off. So once we take it for a quick drive, I'll know if that was the problem, and if not, I have more diagnostic to do. Well, this will be good. I haven't driven this car for a while. Well, no more DSC lights. I've driven it for 3.5 miles now, so I'm going to call that... Oh, jeez. I think this car is a short shifter now. I'm going to call that a win. That was a really cheap fix to a really annoying problem, so I'll take it. Also, I forgot how good this car is. I really like this thing. So I took this car for a long drive last weekend, and it did pretty well. When I came back, I noticed a couple of oil leaks. One is the valve cover, the other is the oil filter housing gasket. In addition to that, I noticed that the, I believe, left front wheel bearing is starting to groan a little bit too. So I bought all those parts right after the drive and set about fixing them. So I have everything now, and I'm gonna just start slowly doing that here today. Airbox comes off really easily on this thing. It's just 6 hose clamps and that little fitting right there. That will give us access to the oil filter housing stand. And the valve cover, again, pretty easy too. The carbon fiber beauty cover makes it a little tougher, just because not all the threads are perfectly situated like an OE cover would be, but pretty easy. It's not leaking horribly or anything, but it's certainly bad enough where I will be addressing it now. But yeah, the car deserves a little bit of attention. I really haven't done, well, that many miles on it since I put the engine in, but certainly haven't done much for maintenance to it either. You can see some oil drips on the manifold down there. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be up to on this guy. After that, I have a also front left, also wheel bearing for the 850. If you guys were watching, I think early last year, I did a wheel bearing on this thing, but it was one I just had in my stockpile. And I think, I have an inkling that it was a late 1991 and up bearing, not an 89 to early 91, and this uses the early style. So the ABS and ASC have been freaking out on this car since I did that, and it just kind of dawned on me that that's probably what it was. So I did some research. Turns out there's a mid-year split on this thing, and I'm hopeful that that was the issue. And here we are. So yeah, you can see there's an obvious oil leak from the oil filter stand, actually a pretty bad one at that. So that definitely needs to be addressed. The valve cover is not nearly that bad. I should actually take this opportunity. I have some Dynon Stage 4 throttle bodies sitting in my home I bought for this car eons ago, and it would be kind of cool to install those. So I don't know. We'll see how long I actually want to leave this car taken apart. I'll probably do that at a later date. I was thinking about also preventatively changing out this alternator since it was a used part and it's for a 528i as well. Actually, it's not even really designed to rev. But we'll see. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it was leaking. So the engine still looks amazing in here. Good news. I forget if I even did cam bolts on this thing. I think I did. Last time I had it apart to do that front main seal. Everything still looks okay, so I should probably check the tabs on the oil pump drive. Oh yeah, those are still good too. Yep. Very nice. Well, I found some interesting stuff in here. Everything looked pretty okay, other than the fact that the bracket for the power steering issue broke off of the oil pan. One of the two upper power steering pump bolts was missing. And there's one more thing. What was it? I can't remember, but those are the main things. I've got it all loosened up now. Should be able to just pull it off. Yep. Making a huge mess all over the floor. But yeah, there we go. All right, all ready to stab back on. So that's all done with. It's a little bit moist down here, but at least I know it's done actively leaking. It turns out the other power steering bolt up front is broken off in the housing, so nothing I can do there. I just put the single one back in. I'm just not going to drive it until I can replace, where is it? This guy. That bracket's snapped, as you can see, so I'll get a replacement, so at least we have 2 points of contact instead of just the one. Turns out this wheel bearing is okay, but this one got a little bit of a clunk to her. So luckily they're the same side to side, because I definitely ordered front left. But yeah, I still have to do that, and then the control arms are actually looking pretty bad too. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of those. The boots just look pretty spent. The treehouse bushings obviously are fine. So a few things to do yet, but I don't have the control arms with me, so I'll probably end up wheeling this out and getting back to it at a later date, and maybe working on the 850 next. It's also a lovely day, so maybe I should go enjoy the weather. So I spent all of yesterday driving the 355 around. Lovely car, but I was noticing when I was parking and leaving parking spots that it would leave a small puddle of coolant, and the car was starting to smell like coolant as well. Got it back to the garage here, and it was really starting to puke. And I used my inspection camera. So what you're looking at right here is looking from the front of the car to the back of the car on the front of the engine, right up there. This bolt right here is the upper left bolt on the water pump, which is central on the engine. And this hose right here is the main outlet. And as you can see, there's a green drip, and that was pretty persistent. So I took the reservoir out. I decoupled a few things just to get enough access in there to hopefully pull a hose out. And sure enough, there's a split in the silicone hose. So luckily my parts hoarding knows no bounds, and I have a brand new OEM rubber hose, which I don't see any reason why this won't be just as good, maybe even better. And that's what I'm going to do right now, is swap that out. So I'll try to dig the camera in there for one quick shot, but it's pretty tight. Yeah, anyway, yay. It really hasn't given me any problems since the engine out, so I shouldn't complain, but that was a little bit of a bummer. So there's our culprit right in there. And I'm not sure if it'll be visible. Yep, you can see the split right there. So I had the clamp a little bit further back. I choked it up, but still no dice. So I'm going to take both clamps off, get that out of there, and then toss in the rubber one, hopefully. Oh my God. The contortionist position I'm in right now. I did get it in there. Holy hell, that sucked. I'm going to tighten down the clamps, get everything back together, and fill it with coolant. I hope for the best. Whew. This is better than doing another engine out, but man, this sucks. Well, that's all back together. Time to chock it full of coolant and hope for the best. After that, I'm actually going to investigate my oil temperature gauge. Since I already have the under tray removed from the car, it's pretty much the perfect time to do that. And it hasn't been working since I did the engine out because I definitely ruined the sender wire. All right, so here and here, we have the ground we'll fix in a second, and right there we have the signal wire. So I put a new spade in here. I have some heat shrink to throw over there, but this is gonna be a little tricky to get that into the crimp and crimp it. So wish me luck. All right, time to fire it up. Well, I hope I don't have to touch anything in here until the next engine out. All done. So I had a few minutes before doing another errand, and I took apart the 850 a little bit. Oh, what the hell? Hold on, let me clean the camera. In there that the encoder is way too fine of tooth. This is what it should be. So I'm optimistic that this will indeed fix the ASC issue. Okay, so I did indeed order the right bearing for it, but I think I found the problem. Something hit this really hard, and yeah, I think it's just losing resolution. So I'm gonna order another one. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna order another one. These aren't that expensive, but damn. All right. I really wonder what did that. I mean, that was a hard hit to bend this sensor that much for sure. Something must have gotten in there. So in the interest of not leaving that story completely untold, I found that ABS sensor was bent. Then I looked up how much they cost, and I decided I can't make it worse. So I took a drill bit and drilled in the side of the dust shield and smacked the piss out of it with a sledgehammer and a screwdriver, and it works fine. So I'm gonna go with that. I did just take it for a little spin to make sure everything was fine, and it is. No more ASC or ABS faults. So I'm gonna be driving a couple other cars this week, so the 850 is getting parked. But again, I hated leaving it on that note. So 850 is fixed.